Hey there everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today. We are coming to you from New York City and the NEDAS 2018 Summit at Convene Times Square. We're so glad to have all of you joining us today. My name is Steve Multer, and right now I am talking with the fabulous Ari Zoldan. All right, so where do we start? You're an entrepreneur, you're a television and radio commentator, you are a speaker, a media personality, you are a best-selling author. So you are also co-founder and CEO of Quantum Media Group. Quantum is really interesting because you're dealing with marketing companies, but you've got such a specific focus on the telecom sector, how AI is connecting in with telecom and a number of other technologies. Tell us a little bit about where the seed of that idea, the foundation of that idea came from, and then I want to get to how it kind of led you up to what we're doing here today at NEDAS.
Sure. So technology is complicated. It's complicated even for some of the higher level engineers all the way down to consumers. So especially when we're talking about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, there are firms out there like ours are needed in the ecosystem to be able to take that message, break it down, and explain it to the masses. Mm-hmm. And then the second part of that also is that most of the firms need marketing services, right? So how do they figure out how to differentiate themselves from the market and then go out there and get themselves in print, radio, television, and get their product out there in mass media? And it's not only specific to technology that need that kind of services, it's all companies across the board. But I think specifically technology, there's got a lot of bright people out there, but they do need help on the marketing and the media side, so that's where our opportunity is.
I always say you can invent the greatest widget in the world, but if you don't know how to sell or market that widget, it's just going to die on the vine. This is storytelling, isn't it?
It's corporate storytelling at its best, but it's taking that message, and then how do you get that message into traditional media? How do we get some of these companies on television? How do we get them in the print? How do we get them in trade publication? How do we get them visible? Because right, exactly what you said before, you could have great products and great services, and there's a lot of companies out there, especially in the telecom space, that are building great hardware, great software. Unfortunately, a lot of them are just sitting on the shelves because they haven't really thought about their marketing plan. And do you ever see Kevin Costner's Field of Dreams?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you build it,
they will come.
It's not the case, right? People are building great products, great services, but no one's coming because they don't have the marketing savvy to be able to get it out there.
This sounds to me like a labor of love from you.
It is. I mean, I learned how to market myself. I saw the importance in terms of working in the telecom sector, working with different technologies when I was starting them, and I was building what I felt was great products, but I realized, hey, like, you know, they weren't coming. People weren't buying the products, they weren't buying the services. And I said, wait, I got to figure out how to break into the media. And that's how I started down that path. And then over the years, people have come to me and asked me for representation.
That is so interesting because I think for a lot of people who've been watching you on TV for years, and they just think, well, Ari came fully formed. This is what he did. He showed up, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. You almost put the cart before the horse to a certain degree, where it's not that you wanted to be on television yourself. You had a goal, it sounds like, something that you wanted to accomplish, and the best way you realized to do that was to get it over the air to as many eyes and ears as possible, and then you went out and made that occur. That's a very unique approach.
1000%. It's almost coming up with a marketing plan before actually building the product. And obviously it was a lot of trial and error because we were building these companies, and I was involved in building these companies, but there was zero traction, and I couldn't figure out because I thought, yeah, if we build it, there seems to be a market. I did my competitive analysis, I did my research and all that analytical stuff, but you know what? I never thought about being able to market it because I thought if the product is so good, it's going to stand on its own 2 feet. But I couldn't have been more wrong. So I started knocking on the doors of networks and producers and building relationships with journalists and reporters. And I got to sort of learn how that works. And media is a product as well, and anybody could learn it. So there's no secret sauce. It's like building any company. It's like building a product. It's the same thing. Building your brand identity, building your brand equity is the same exact thing. You just need the patience and the persistence and the know-how to be able to do it.
It's so smart. Let's parlay that into the fact that we are sitting here today in September 2018. We're at the NEDAS Summit, and you get the call that says, would you please come and be a part of the meeting? What was it that made you say, yeah, that's where I want to be today?
Well, I know the organizers, Alyssa and Steve, are
that
just,
helps.
yeah, they're incredible. So when I got the phone call, I was obviously, it was a big honor. The second thought that crossed my mind was that telecom is in my roots. So I felt immediately connected, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So I enjoy keynoting, I enjoy moderating. Obviously more specific to telecom because that's my background, so I really get the landscape.
And we've got 300 of the brightest minds from all over the industry on all sides, from the hyperscaler side to the telecommunications infrastructure side and everything really in between, carriers and so forth. Good conversations here today?
It was great. And when I first walked in, obviously, and I was sharing this with the organizers, the facility pops. So, you walk in and you see this audience, the food is great, the quality of the people it's apparently that they're high level, and it's the content. And I attend hundreds of conferences a year. These are one of the few that were so well organized, that had great content, and the quality of the people, it was apparent that they were here for a reason and that they had a mission. So I think it was a combination of all three that really is making this conference a success. And really, this is the 1%.
That's fantastic, and we're so grateful to have you here. I want to ask you one more thing, because we've been talking even so much in this conversation about how personal all of this is. You have started doing a huge amount of traveling worldwide, a lot of third world countries, looking at infrastructure capabilities, looking at demands, looking at needs within those areas and how you might be able to positively impact those aspects of the world. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we have the opportunity, we have clients overseas. So every time I'm overseas, I have the opportunities to visit some of the rural places, getting outside of the city. So whether it's in Africa, in Asia, in South America, Kenya, Uganda, Guinea, southern China. So I get the opportunity to sort of explore, and I get to see some of the rural areas of each country that most people don't get to see. And obviously there's a need there. There's a need there for connectivity. There's a need there also for jobs. There is still great labor out there. So if you can build infrastructure and create jobs, it's kind of the perfect scenario.
It's so exciting. It's connection. We don't talk about this often enough, that we can talk technology all day long.
Right.
We can discuss new capabilities, we can discuss what's coming online, we can take 3-year and 5-year visions. What we don't talk about is how do we connect humans? Because we all need the types of things that we're talking about, not just at this meeting, but what it is that you are so passionate about yourself, right?
Thank you, and it's exactly right. It's connection. Whether it's technological connection or whether it's human connection, we need some sort of connection. I'll tell you I'll share a quick story with you. I was moderating a conference in Tel Aviv a couple of years ago, and I did an exercise. I was on stage, there were 400 people there, and mostly high-level C-suite executives, and it was a mindfulness related conference. And I asked each person to turn to the next person, and I said, I want you to stare at them for 60 seconds. You could imagine there was not 400 people, 200 couples, there was not one person, we talk about connection, that was able to stare at somebody for 60 seconds.
So challenging.
It is really...
Movies have been written about this.
Yeah. It was a really impactful exercise. Wow. And in the room there were technologists from Microsoft and from Google and from Facebook, and they're all in the industry of connecting people. But yet the executives couldn't make eye contact. So we spoke about connections, and people I saw people crying. I saw people fidgeting. They were uncomfortable. And just the simple act of looking at into somebody's eyes is so impactful, yet so scary for people, because it's about vulnerability and openness. So I think converging those two, technology is great, and I'm a big proponent of it, but I think that what you said, there needs to be a human element. And talk about a human element, this room here, the people that I've met and spoken with, they're humans, and they're good humans also. So I could have a technology meeting with some of them on the side and talk to them tech, but I could also have interesting, fun conversations as well, and then build a relationship there. So I think it's equally as important.
That's how we create a great future. We have to do that together. I wish we could keep doing this for the next half hour, 40 minutes. Ari, thank you so much. So appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's been great to get to know you a little bit here today.
You as well.
Thanks again to all of you for tuning in and watching. We appreciate it.